Hello again, and welcome to Super Deluxe Gamescast for Thursday, July 16th. If you're not aware, SDGC meets right here every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we discuss the latest gaming headlines and the politics about the art form and the industry. If you've been along for the ride so far, welcome home. And if not, thank you for joining us tonight. Feel free to stick around. Now, before we go any further, I have a very special surprise.
I have anxiety.
What's that?
I said I have anxiety.
Why would you have anxiety?
Continue. We'll find out why.
All right, let me make sure it's ready to go. Oh, looks like it's actually going through the approval. Oh, here it is. Yes, here it is. Are we ready for this? I created us a new emote. We got a new emote, and it's in honor of our wonderful producer, Derek. So here it is in the chat. Here it is in the chat. Boom!
Oh no!
Oh, no. Oh shit!
That's cute.
Yeah!
Poggers Derek made it over to Twitch.
That drunk photo of me.
It's awful and I love it.
Blasted out of my mind. That is the second most drunk I've ever been in my entire life.
I think it's adorable. Well, Derek
Bam
can't not be
that
adorable.
shit.
Let's be real.
Bam that shit in the chat.
This is what
John,
I get.
do you see the chat? You didn't have to tell them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they're
are.
all over it.
Derek, that one's for you, buddy.
Oh, I have to resubscribe to us. I'm not even a subscriber.
What? Your own social media guy doesn't subscribe to his Jesus.
It's because my Prime doesn't re-up my sub automatically. I'm sorry, I let the entire show down.
Exposed.
I'll resign after this episode. Don't worry.
I want to see a ton of. Look at the fucking.
It can't.
It can't be stopped.
No.
It can't be stopped. Oh my god, this is great. So anyway, welcome to SDGC. It's Thursday night. We have a great guest tonight. This is actually Kate. This is your first time on the live show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was on the PS5 stream thing. I did.
You were on the stream, yeah.
Yeah, but this is my first time on a show. So hi.
So, Kate, I don't want to speak for you. Why don't you tell everybody in chat who you are and what you do?
I am Kate Sanchez. I am the editor-in-chief of ButWhyTho Geek Community. We're a community of writers and podcasters who just get together to talk about all things pop culture. We do written reviews and podcasts on our website of movies, TV, manga, anime, comic books, and video games, and pretty much anything else that we can fit into. So I manage all of that piece, and then I also podcast on the side. I'm a podcaster for ButWhyTho the podcast, as well as Did You Have To, which is an anime podcast that is really just our thirst trap that we just do nothing but thirst for different anime men in, and sometimes talk about problematic things in it.
You are literally speaking Derek's language right now.
I mean,
like the himbos?
Oh well, you know it. I love everybody.
Derek actually, Derek was there when I watched my first ever anime.
Yeah, I showed him his first ever anime. It was Princess Mononoke.
Princess Mononoke. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then,
it was great.
And then the very next day, I made him play Hyperdimension Neptunia.
I remember that.
And I think I broke him.
Just from one end of the spectrum to the other.
We don't talk about that 3 hours on this podcast. Like 1 minute I'm playing a really bad just anime game, but the next minute 2 anime girls are on top of each other and they're covered in bandages, and I was like, what is
I forgot about that in my defense.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Derek.
To be honest, what you just said sums up the majority of shonen anime.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely unacceptable, but we're here for it anyway.
Of course.
I'm personally a fan of fan service. It just depends on how it's done.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Anime boobies are some of the best boobies. That is my quote for today.
I had John can speak to this earlier. I was streaming some Batman Arkham Asylum, It's been forever since I played it. Poison Ivy came up, and I'm sitting here like, look, this is not like, there's good and bad things about this design. Like, I kind of like the way they're doing the vines. It's like henna tattoos, but like, you know, the outfits just like, you know, like really not great. But then she kills me, and there's this shot of her like this, and I'm like, look, this is unacceptable according to feminism, but also step on me.
So I will push back a little bit and say feminine doesn't say that women can't be sexy.
Well, sure.
And only walk around in a little button shirt.
Yeah. It's just that it's everywhere and it's everything, and we'd like more variety. But it's the duality of man being like, we could do better at this, but also
somebody.
I want Poison Ivy to step on me in any way.
Exactly.
Anyway,
I just want somebody to gift Derek saying "step on me," so I can throw it out on.
Julian
Twitter.
will have it by the end of the night.
I'm not. I have to say, I'm not on Twitter anymore, but I see it with the official account now, and I saw Reb's tweet from Ring Fit with the fucking chain.
Red tagged
that
me.
game.
Why? She knows.
That game is like, I don't care what anybody says. Ring Fit is horny as fuck.
You see that dragon? You see the big buff dragon?
Dude, that game is fucking horny. Yeah, like
This seems like a thing with Nintendo games. I remember a lot of tweets about ARMS as well when that game came out.
I'm playing the wrong Nintendo games.
No, Kate, I'm serious.
Jeff,
Ring Fit is horny.
Nobody was focused on the arms in ARMS, that's for sure.
All right, so Kate, I'm really glad you're here. I've been a fan of what you do on ButWhyTho for some time now. Also, ButWhyTho, and that's just a great name. Like that's just a fantastic name for a platform. Yeah, I love that. And we've got a lot to talk about tonight. But are we going to start with what we've all been playing recently? Do we want to jump into that? Because if you don't mind. Quick. Yeah, I want to say real quick that Crosscode, after about 56 hours, I'm not done with the game yet, and it is easily in my top 10 games of all time. Wow. Everything about this game sings, from the visuals to the combat to the story to the relatability of the characters to the amazing soundtrack. Everything meshes together. It is basically the high definition SNES action JRPG I have wanted for years and years, and now I have it. And it is just from top to bottom a wonderful experience. And there's more content coming from Radical Fish. It's like a fake MMO, so it makes sense that they would want to keep putting out more content. And I am hoping for years and years of Crosscode content, because without spoiling anything, the lore and the story behind this is absolutely great. And there's some really, really heartfelt moments that I was not prepared for in this, and I could not be happier with how this game turned out. I'm so jazzed about it. I just wanted to say that. I'm really happy.
Sorry, I'm distracted by the black hole on Justin's webcam.
That's a good kitty right there.
The void just passed through my webcam.
Kate, I hear you've been playing something kind of fun.
I have been playing Ooblets. It is amazing. It's developed by an indie studio in Seattle and it's made by 2 people. And it is easily one of the most, like, I don't know, I logged in and the game opens with a screen that says your life was Toot. And now you're moving to this island that's not Toot with Ooblets. And it was just like, one, I've been extremely exhausted. I've had a really hard week, just like work and everything. So for me to sit down, I got my review code earlier this week, and when I sat down, it was like my own little island that I just got to play with adorable little creatures. It's pastel and vibrant, and honestly, one of the best things about it is that I love farming games and I love simulators, but I always tell about the replayability with how quickly things become chores. And for this game, it's really cool because it has a deck building element when you do dance battles with your little ooblets that you collect. and it keeps it fresh and light and fun. And there are like these little animations where your ooblets shake their butts. It's great. I love it. It is everything I want in video games.
This is an early access game, right, Kate?
No, I
Yeah.
thought didn't it just leave early access?
It's on Games Preview right now.
Okay.
Xbox, yeah.
Yeah, I thought the early access just started today.
Yes, it just started.
That's
It
what it
started.
is.
Yes,
Okay.
it started on the 15th.
So
Okay,
so
okay.
is this like I mean I know about ooblets and I haven't been able to play it. Like is there so like when you say early access, is there like online functionality to this game? Like is it something that
So when I've gone in, and this is probably real bad on me for not I think that there is online capabilities, but personally I haven't done any of that. I've just been
Okay.
on my island. So I'm not too sure. I've been on my own little island dancing with my little friends. So
if only we could all be on our own little islands dancing with our friends. Like we call that PAX.
yeah.
Only we call that drinking in the West End at our individual tables at PAX.
And the island is a 2-foot cot.
yeah. I don't know, Jeff. Was our island the murder hotel?
I don't know if that was the island. I felt like that was the depths of the ocean that I was trying to escape.
That was Davy Jones' locker that we were that we were stuck in. Kate, have you been playing anything else?
A hell of a lot of, I was playing a hell of a lot of Final Fantasy 14, but I haven't played that in a
yes.
while. But that's the only other game I've played probably in the last month. So
Kate, why are you not on my friends list in Final Fantasy?
I don't
14?
know what server are you on.
We don't have to be on the same server.
That's fair, but I want to know.
I'm on Ultros.
Oh, I'm on Levi.
Oh.
Ultros is where it's at.
I set an alarm to wake up at 2 a.m. so that I could get into Leviathan.
I still get cues on the weekend when I love seeing that game perform so well.
Oh yeah, I mean Shadowbringers, man, like that. It opened it up to so many new people. But
Emmett Selk.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Emmett Selk is a top 3 Final Fantasy villain. Like that, he fucking rules. That guy rules.
We got 19 minutes, so we talked about Final Fantasy on the podcast.
Hell yeah!
Not bad. It's been quicker.
Don't worry, I'll work on. I'll
we
try to bring those numbers down.
We made it like an hour and a half on the Last of Us 2 spoiler cast. That was, I think, the record.
I know, I'm dogging it. I'm dogging it.
And I'll be honest,
all right.
like I'm like with Final Fantasy because my husband and I play games together, and that's one of the reasons why we're together, because it's just a really easy. He doesn't get mad at me if I go into a room for 10 hours and don't come out because we're talking in a video game. But like we've played different MMOs together and different games together. And Final Fantasy 14 is the one that I can just like really get into. Like I loved WoW when it first came out, but like there's something about WoW that just isn't my thing right now. But Final Fantasy 14 is pretty and amazing, and I will spend an hour just with my gear because it's pretty much an anime.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Justin.
Zeke was just laying on my keyboard, and I was trying to shoo him off, and he went to swap my hand and fell off the table.
Hell yeah.
So,
oh wait, I mean that's terrible. That's
We
what
got
I
an
meant.
F
Was
in the
that's
chat
terrible.
for Zeke.
And, can we get some
He's fine.
Derek?
He's a
Can we get
cat.
some
He
Derek
landed on his
Poggers?
feet.
Let's get some Derek Poggers in the chat for Zeke.
John, the Derek Poggers have been there the entire time since we
I
started.
want more. I need more.
Baby Yoda, which is right there.
Aw.
Oh, that is
He's too big to fit on any of the shelves that he's sitting on top of, so he stays on top.
I can see the ears
Enormous.
from here.
He's enormous.
He's huge.
Oh my God.
That's a
He's big, but
boy.
he's small.
Derek, what have I done? I'm sorry.
I invited this on myself. Let's be honest.
So, who wants to go next? Jeff?
Yeah, I'll go real quick.
Yeah, come on, man.
So yeah, I've been playing Death Stranding. I waited for the PC version because I didn't want to pay full price for the PS4 one at the time, and I wasn't in a super big rush to play it. And It's a weird. I've been on like I have pretty much ignored everything about the game. I muted everything. I wasn't like worried about spoilers. I just wanted to go into it as fresh as possible. And despite Kojima's issues and stuff like that, like mechanically I love all his games. He always does something different and fresh and tries new ideas. And sometimes people fucking hate them, but like every Metal Gear Solid game has at least a couple weird new quirky mechanics. And Death Stranding is like weirder than I ever thought it'd be. It's basically like I'm sure everyone knows this by now, so I feel dumb talking about it, but it's like a courier game. Like it's like a delivery terrain puzzle game, and it's super weird, but it's super chill. And I don't know, like I thought it would be really depressing because it's less cloudy and gloomy and gray, but the landscape is like actually super beautiful, and it's pretty relaxing, just kind of trudging through mud with like 500 pounds of cargo on my back. I don't know. I can't describe it, but it's just a really, when I'm not being attacked by like weird black goo monsters, it's just a really relaxing game. And it looks incredible. I'm going to lose.
It is a
most
really good
people
looking
here.
game. Yeah.
But it's using NVIDIA's new DLSS 2.0 on PC, and it looks sharper than native 4K, and it still runs amazingly well on a lot of hardware. So it's a really impressive PC version. And if this is like what we're going to get from Sony first party or Decima games on PC, Horizon's coming out next month, I think in August. I hope it's similar because it's really impressive, and it's just cool that more people get to experience these kind of games. So I'm not very far in, but I'm enjoying it so far.
I'm not gonna lie, Jeff. I literally like we spent years wondering what the hell Death Stranding was, and I daily forget that it even exists. So like I'm like, oh yeah, Death Stranding is a thing. You know, like,
I talk about this all the time, but it comes into play with a lot of media. Like it's always more interesting when you don't know something than when you know what it is. It's the way movies work. It's the way games work. That mystery is always more compelling than whatever the actual reality is. And it was inevitable. But you know, if you're able to ignore all the crazy Metal Gear fan base, Kojima fan base, and all the pre-release buzz and all those trailers, all of those years, if you just ignore all that and just go into it as like it's just a game, it's pretty cool and unique, and I'm interested to see where it goes.
Sorry, go ahead, Kate.
No, I was gonna say that I'm just excited that more exclusives are stopping being exclusives. Even if it's timed, that's fine. But for me, and sure we'll talk about the Microsoft thing later on, but like the money gates on games, a lot has to do with exclusivity. So I'm really excited to pick up Death Stranding and picked up Horizon when they come over, or when that one comes over. So
no, Kate has broken sacred gamer law. Like oh no, the exclusives are going to PC. I agree with you. I think I completely agree. I have never understood why people get angry about Xbox or PS4 games going to PC. I just don't.
I don't.
Make games more available to people.
People that can play them better. Like,
well,
yeah.
We've talked about it before, but people need to realize, like, it's weird because people are stuck in this old mindset, but all the major companies realize now it's less important where people play their games, just that they play them and that they talk about them and that their friends play them and they get invested in that game. And if it has microtransactions and stores in the game and they buy stuff through there, like the day one bulk unit sales are just not as important as they used to be. And it's cool. And then like you said, it opens it up to more people, more platforms, more storefronts, more competition, lower prices. You don't have to buy 4 different $500 boxes to play all these games, because who could afford that?
Yeah, that's what my husband says all the time, that essentially like, oh yeah, cool, the Spider-Man game was $64. Well, to us, it was $600.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
all right, Jeff, is that all you got?
But yeah,
that's all I got. I'm
okay. Justin, I was going to kick it over to you anyway, man. So go ahead.
Oh, just kind of building on what Jeff was saying about Death Stranding is I really, really liked that game a whole lot. It was one that really stuck with me. It was my number 2 game last year. And I'm really, really interested to see what the impressions are from people about it on PC, because I think, a lot of the themes and stuff have ended up being extremely relevant very quickly, compared to when that game launched. And I'm really interested.
sorry to interrupt. Just as you say that, I was just thinking about a line earlier where I talked about losing our connection to other people and being isolated and lonely, and I'm like, holy fuck. Like,
That's what the whole
hell?
game's about. Like, that is like the theming of the entire game. And I'm really excited to kind of see some of those reactions, because they'll be very different than what people had, back in November when it launched. And I also think it's going to be a game that's really popular with the PC crowd due to the amount of like simulation and sandbox stuff in it. But I'm also extremely excited to hear people's reactions to Horizon. You guys all know that I absolutely adore Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm really excited to hear what people have to say about it when they get their hands on it. So I'm really looking forward to impressions of those games. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I didn't really play anything this week. Those of you that follow me know it's been an extraordinarily difficult week for me and my family. But I am looking forward to Ghost of Tsushima tonight at midnight. I have it preloaded. All the impressions I've heard sound like it was exactly what I was expecting it to be. And I've always enjoyed Sucker Punch's games. I think this one looks gorgeous. And so I think I'm just gonna, kind of chill out this weekend, play a lot of Ghost of Tsushima. So
See, that's going to be
where
me.
I am.
That's going to be me at midnight, but Paper Mario.
I'm gonna play Paper Mario after I'm done with Ghost of Tsushima. I'm looking forward to that too.
Dude, I'm so fucking excited about Paper Mario. Holy shit, I'm playing a new Paper Mario at midnight. Fuck yeah! I can't wait. Oh my god, I fucking love it. I love Paper Mario. I even love Color Splash. I'll admit it. Like, Color Splash is a good fucking video game. Sticker Star is not. I am fully willing to admit that, but Color Splash fucking rules. And I know Nick and Andre Seegers over at Game Explained agrees with me as well. Derek.
It's been a busy week for me. Like I said, I played and finished Arkham Asylum. I'm going back and revisiting the Batman Arkham games. I haven't played Arkham Asylum since launch. Holds up really well.
I enjoyed your stream today, dude.
I mean, if you play that on PC, like, it still looks really, really good nowadays.
It does.
I imagine that the backwards compatible and like remastered versions and whatever on PS4 and Xbox One look pretty good, even still by today's standards. It's a good game. I like how kind of condensed and focused it is. It was just a good time. That, and then I beat Persona 4 Golden on PC, which is I've never actually played the Golden version, so
really?
All of that new stuff was new to me. Yeah, I played it on PS2 way back in the day, and I never had a Vita.
Before it was cool.
Yeah, before it was cool. Before there were 50 million spin-offs. And Persona 4 Golden ended up being going back for the first time in God knows how many years. It's just interesting to realize, I think, it's actually less problematic than I think my brain remembers it being. Like,
Derek, I'm assuming you're referring to Kanji.
Kanji and Naoto both, and some other stuff. Like,
okay.
I think when I was much younger, because the game came out like a decade ago, more than a decade ago.
It was
12
more
years
than
ago.
Yeah, no, I was in the Marine. I was in the Marine Corps when I first played it. It was like 2006.
That feeling.
So.
Anyway, when it first
It was
came
about
out,
2006. It was like 14 years ago.
I loved everything about it very non-critically, and it was very important to me, and I mean, it still is. And then I think not playing it, but just the parts of it that stick out in my memory, as time has gone on, and I've become more in tune with and aware with LGBTQ issues, and I came out of the closet myself and things like that. I think the parts that I remember more harshly than they actually are. And then I go back to it, I recognize it's more of like an example of where they missed opportunities to be good, necessarily, than that they are like maliciously bad. Like, there's stuff in Persona 5 that's way worse than anything in Persona 4.
I agree.
But yeah, which is not to say that there's no room for credit. There absolutely is, and I have gone into it at length on Twitter and other places. But yeah. So
I don't know, Derek. I don't know how hot of a take this is, but P4G is a better game than Persona 5.
In some respects. I
don't think it's hot. I think there's it's probably 50-50.
Yeah.
People
I want to
for
play
one game or
Persona
the
5
other.
Royal and then think about how I compare those two. Because the revisions do change quite a bit and add quite a bit. So, and I haven't played Royal, so at some point I'll do that. I'm not in a rush. I got a backlog a mile long, so I'll worry about that later. Yeah, so Batman
just
and Persona.
I just want to give a shout out in the chat to I don't know how to pronounce this. Darajit, thank you for the sub. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. So, Derek, did you say you had something else to talk about, or
No, I'm ready to move
you're
on to
good?
some news.
You're good to go. All right.
Ready for that hot news.
So we got a lot of hot ass news to talk about this week, and I want to start by bringing up Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI to me
muting you now.
Mute him.
Shut
an
the-
extreme.
just shut up.
What's
How
that?
do we-
Mute him.
All right,
Mute him.
fine,
can't, it won't let me.
fine. I'm done. No, so there's been a lot of gaming news this week, and I think we want to kick it off with Ubisoft. In particular, Far Cry 6, which...
I see you're pumping
Okay,
up for battle already.
All right, so you know what? I am just going to kick this over to Kate and let her introduce this topic. Kate, why don't you tell us all about Far Cry 6?
So, I preface this with the things that were told to me when I complained. I understand that the previous Far Cry dealt a lot with stereotypes of Southern racists and evangelicals, but they did it because they understood the cultural context. Now, you go over to Far Cry 6, which is in a Latin American setting with a dictator named Presidente, and that dictator is played by famous Black Italian American Giancarlo Esposito. Yeah, and somehow his accent got worse from when he played the Chilean villain in Breaking Bad to this game.
So
It got way worse, and I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you make a career playing Latinos and you don't improve that accent. Like, try a little. And I say this, it hurts because I love Giancarlo Esposito. I love him so much. And The Mandalorian freaking is awesome. As Gus, I'll take him as Gus. I actually didn't know that he wasn't Latino until 2013 when I met him at a convention. And I was like, it's so awesome to see Latinos in big roles. And he was like, oh, honey, no. And I was like, oh, okay.
See, I didn't know until just now before the show when we were discussing this.
So wait, hold on, Kate. I missed. So his name, the character's name is Presidente.
Well, he's
It's
the
Anton, I
Presidente.
think.
Okay,
Yeah,
I thought you.
He's Presidente because he's a dictator.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure
okay,
that El
I thought you
Presidente
meant that
is
was
not
his
on his
actual
birth
name. I was like,
certificate.
wait, what? Like,
Yeah, no, because they say I think it's like Presidente Castillo. I think is
Okay.
his actual name, but he's the Presidente.
Kate, the dog.
Yes, I was getting there.
Okay.
Fucking dog.
There was
Okay.
You gotta trust her.
also- So the thing is there's also this DLC that they announced, where you can get the Discos Locos, which is a gun that shoots discs. And then
It sounds like a Taco Bell menu item.
It does, and
Oh my
it gets
God.
worse because then you can get sweet little innocent weenie dog baby, Libertad Chorizo. And the thing
The
is,
dog has a wheelchair too, right?
yes. The thing
That's cool.
is either so I talked to my husband about this extensively because it reminded me of the Brian Azzarello comic where it was Birds of Prey #1. He did like 20 racist things in there. Any of those racist things that happened would have been like, oh, problematic, but you know, we can get over this hurdle by themselves. But he just kept ticking the boxes. And at this point, with what I've seen from Far Cry 6, they just keep ticking the boxes. And the thing is like, I understand that a bear in Far Cry 5 named Cheeseburger is hilarious. I understand that naming a weenie dog Chorizo can also be hilarious, but they named it Freedom Chorizo. That's literally what it means. It means a freedom sausage.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Or like independent sausage. Like it's not, there's nowhere where that is cool. And the thing is like I could deal with a stupid DLC, but like the way with which the tone of the trailer that we got for Far Cry 6 doesn't match a DLC that is Chorizo and Discos Locos. Like, it doesn't match it. And so part of me is wondering, okay, did you want to do a parody or like a satire, which could go well if you hire the right people? I do know that they have Latinx consultants that they worked with. I did find that out. I want to know if they were involved in Giancarlo Esposito's casting, though, because that accent is atrocious again. But the thing is they're very separate. So in the trailer, you get this really dark, dictatorship. There's death. The dad gives the kid a grenade and takes the pin out. And Discos Locos. So it's one of those things where it's like, what did you want to do? Because at this point, any shield you had that could have been, we're doing a satire of what this genre, what this trope is, goes out the window when you give us a trailer that is that intense. Because that trailer shows that either A, you only know the way these things are done in media, and this is how you will present it, and you don't understand the nuances in making this satire, or B, you just don't care.
Kate, it's also like a massive tonal shift, Yeah. It's like, whoa, like, hold on a minute, like it appears that you're trying to tell a serious story, and all of a sudden we've got Discos Locos and like, what? I'm not fucking kidding you. When I saw that, I just closed my eyes for a minute. I was like,
my husband has been trying to get our dog to respond to Chorizo. It is as stupid as it sounds when you see it in real life.
The frustrating thing is this is the exact same fucking problem they had with Far Cry 5, whereas like we got the initial artwork and it was like they're gonna go deep into like fucking like neo-Nazi cult southern, like all this backwards ass America. And they had this darkness to it, and then you play the game, and yeah, there's a bear called Cheeseburger, and there's all these like jokey characters, like these like rednecks and hicks, and like half the game is just fucking super weird, bad satire, and then the other half is just toothless like melodrama that just doesn't land at all. Like so they got two problems here. I think they've got some issues with maybe their cultural representations, but then they've also got just the tonal issues where they need to figure out what they're doing with this game.
Justin.
Well, so Justin, go ahead.
Something that I've been thinking about, and like it initially just struck me as kind of funny, but like I think there's more to unpack with it that I haven't quite been able to piece together. But like they've always had these fictional locations for Far Cry for the most part, even though they're super obvious what it is. Like 4 was India, this seems like Cuba, with 6, like, but then for 5 it was just like, yeah, it's fucking Montana. Like,
yeah,
it's super weird. Like, I don't fully know what that means, but like it just seems like they know that they're doing some of these cultures like poorly, so they just fictionalize it, whereas they're like, oh, we did a ton of research in the US, we loved this space, so yeah, it's Montana.
Well, that's what you see. I mean, and this isn't only a problem that is what happens in gaming. This is the exact same thing that you see in comic books. If you look at Bane is a Latino character. The creator has said multiple times he's Latino, but he's not from an actual Latino place. That's a little bit more forgivable because Gotham isn't a real place either. But like, then you look at Marvel Comics and it's the same thing, which is stupid because a lot of the characters come from real places in those comic books. And it's kind of a cycle that perpetuates it. And it's one of the problems that I wouldn't say that Latinx experience specifically, like other groups do experience this too, but when you look at the Latinx people in the US as a community, we make up the largest minority group. We're almost 20% of this country. Additionally, in places like the Southwest, we literally built them. The border moved on us. And when you contextualize it like that, we have every reason to not be seen as foreign, but every time we're represented in media, we're never represented as being a part of the story, as being somebody who is just there. Like, I guess other than Life is Strange 2, but like we don't get to just be. We have to be in this fictional place that represents us in a weird way, so we can't actually say that you're messing with this culture because, oh, it's a fictional culture that's inspired by the pan-Latin identity. And all it does is it continues to make people think that we don't belong here, or that as much as immigrant narratives are important, that's not the only narrative that it is. My grandmother is Native and Mexican. Like, my family has always been here. I've never been to Mexico. 8 generations of my family haven't. And that the type of storytelling that happens in something like Far Cry 6 is all it does is it continually dehumanizes us and puts us in a box that puts us far away from the other narrative. That's something that's frustrating, because I don't care that the dog's name is Chorizo. You could have just done that. I would have been fine. You know what? Piss Giancarlo Esposito is playing an Afro-Latino because Afro-Latinos need roles. But you know what? If it had just been that, that would be fine. The narrative, if it had just been that, it would have been fine. And I don't think that that's what people understand when they're like, oh, well, I think Chorizo is funny. I'm Latinx too. Yeah, but it's not just that. Like, we're not, like, people like me, and obviously I'm not the representative of the entire Latinx delegation, but it's the way things compound on top of each other, especially from a company like Ubisoft. And this is removed from their current issues. When it comes to diversity, that company does lead a way in games when it comes to doing that, when it comes to giving opportunities. I can say that because I have received that kind of help. Like, I have never been shut down when trying to work with somebody from Ubisoft because they see me and they respect the diversity that my platform brings, versus a lot of other, especially AAA studios, and how they treat me. And that's also one of the reasons why I feel comfortable speaking about Far Cry 6, because I know that they need to hear it, and I hope that somebody pays attention to it.
Well, what's interesting about what you just said, Kate, is, this is great because it gives me perspective that I didn't have before, and now, after having listened to you very eloquently, spell that out, it strikes me that the only ethnic group that got an actual real world setting in the Far Cry series was white people in Far Cry 5 in Montana. Everybody else gets oh, it's this,
it's additional othering,
right,
basically.
yeah, like it makes the rest of the world come off like this far off exotic no, it's just the rest of the world. Like these other cultures exist too. Why can't they have representation as well? And that had never really struck me, Kate, until just now. So thank you for giving me that perspective.
If you want to take it one step farther, Harlem is a block, a singular block in the Spider-Man PS4 game, and the Apollo Theater isn't even in that map. In a game that promises to be authentic to New York, that's what happens. And I found that out because I recorded a podcast with Black Comics Chat, and Tony on there, he pointed it out because he's an Afro-Latino and Miles means a lot to him. And so when he went into that, he was like, okay, so what are they going to do for the Miles game? Because the entire part of Miles' identity isn't even included in the actual Spider-Man game. And it's those little things that, while they don't have malicious intent, it continually sends the message that we don't belong here. And it makes it okay for people in their communities to tell us that we don't belong there.
Justin, go ahead, buddy.
Also, just one thing. This just occurred to me now. First off, I really do hope they at least expand that area for the Miles Morales game, because that obviously should be something that they should focus on. But also, with Ubisoft, I think some of this stuff feels so much more egregious because they have so many studios, different places around the world. They put at the front of the Assassin's Creed games, this was made by a multicultural team of different faiths and backgrounds and ethnicities. Of almost all the big AAA publishers in the world, they're one of the best suited to be able to have a lot of different people from different cultures, represented in their games and give input and stuff, and they just don't. And I think it's a bigger bummer when there's just Like, I mean, how many studios do they have over how many different continents and countries?
It just seems like another case
Yeah.
of like, yeah, they have a big studio and they have, some diversity there, but they don't have the right people in the right roles, right? So you can have
Well, I
all these
mean, yeah,
people
they've
working on art,
made
but
it
like
clear
you
they
need
don't have
people at the right
people in the
level.
roles, so, yeah.
You need them to have some degree of power and creative control and
Exactly.
actually be able to tell their stories.
Well, it's the other
Well-
thing too, because like I know that they have consultants that worked on it, and I don't want to detract from the work that those hardworking Latinx did. But the thing is like you can be a consultant, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna listen to you.
Yep.
And that's something that is really frustrating because like I haven't consulted in games, but I have helped in other areas. Like I have looked over people's Spanish and made recommendations of like, okay, well, this is how Spanglish would actually sound. Take this word out, leave this one in, like that kind of stuff. And I've had a couple of times where I've had somebody, well, I really like that word in there. So instead of adding this other Spanish word that you said, I'm going to leave that one, but I still only have one. I'm like, no, no, no. I'm telling you, nobody would ever say that word there. I'm telling you to put it somewhere. And that's the thing. Like, you can only do so much. You can only do as much good as somebody lets you. But to your point, Justin, that's why I'm so angry. I expect other people to screw me over. I expect other people to not necessarily do their due diligence in representing communities. Hell, I don't expect to be in 90% of video games. Actually, 99% of video games. Because guess what? Name a Latina female protagonist that isn't a fighter.
I don't think I can.
Yeah, I mean, I can't
No.
think of a Latinx like main protagonist in anything that is not explicitly like a pan Hispanic kind of conglomerate, kind of like a Far Cry 6 or something like Shadows of the Damned.
Shadows of the Damned is the only one that comes to mind.
Or like Just Cause, even. I mean,
He's
I can't.
voiced by a white guy doing a really bad accent.
Not anymore, thankfully.
Not anymore?
Just Cause 4, Orion Akaba. Is I don't know exactly what he is, but you can take a look at him and say he's not white, and given the last name, I think he's set.
So what's wild about this whole thing is that in Far Cry 3, like Voss Montenegro was played by Michael Mando, who is of Mexican descent. So you have a Latino playing a Latino man. Great. But then in Far Cry 4, you've got Pagan Min being played by Troy Baker, and I'm like,
Troy Baker.
I'm like, wait, why does he have a British accent, and why is he being played by Troy Baker? That doesn't make any fucking sense, because every other character in the game who is from this location speaks in an accent. So why Troy Baker? Are you fucking kidding me? And
I straight up thought he was like a British guy that was like a holdover from colonialism or something.
Is that not it? Is Pagan Min not supposed to be like a British?
No, he's supposed to be somebody from that area.
He is from that area.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah. Kate, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to say that, like it's clear. Like, do I think any of this is like intentionally malicious? No. But but it is so inconsistent that, like, I know Ubisoft can get it right. You've got it right in the past. Like you hired Michael Mando to voice Voss. Like you switched up the voice actor for the main character in Just Cause 4. Like you know how to do this right. So why can't you just keep doing it right? Like I don't get it. I don't understand. And that, to me, like when you say it's not malicious, like it's not, but it's the fact that it seesaws back and forth like that is indicative of just not caring, which to me is almost just as bad.
It's extra frustrating because, I mean, not that it's ever, we sometimes give things a pass to smaller studios. If a game's made by 2 or 3 people, like, they don't have the same resources, but Ubisoft has the people, they have the voices, they have the money to do these things right, and they have the profile and platform that telling these stories well and respectfully and with the right voices, you can get that message and that story out to a huge audience. Like, it's that with great power comes great responsibility shit, right? But like, it's true. Like, and that's why it's so frustrating that if they just, they have all the tools they need to do this the right way, they just are stumbling over and over again.
And Kate, consider this. in Far Cry 3, as well as they nailed it with Voss, who was a very well acted character, they killed him off halfway through the game and replaced him with a white guy from Germany as the main villain. Like, I mean, I just
it's
I don't
hard.
know.
It's really hard, and I don't say this point to take away from any other minority dealing with representation in games. But when you actually look at the landscape of Latinx representation, we're so below our actual population size in the US that it's extremely negligent and it's extremely hurtful. Like when we get new games announced, we don't get Latinx characters. We don't get to see them. And so for me, the thing that sucks about this is Anthony Gonzalez from Coco is voicing the kid in Far Cry 6. And that's a phenomenal casting. That's amazing. That's giving that kid more work that he deserves. But then you do something like Giancarlo Esposito, and the thing that gets really tricky here is because I mean, I don't just do games, I also do TV and film. I have spoken with a few people who work at larger sites and larger areas where they do actually get contacted from like large celebrity press, and his PR reps him as Latino. And that's a problem. And the thing is like, even just from a Latinx perspective, we don't get to be anywhere. There's actually not a single Latino TV show on network television. Not at all. Anywhere. And we just keep getting canceled. So and that's just like broad any sort of Latino, because we come in all shades, we come in so many different cultural backgrounds. The pain and struggle that Afro Latinos face when they go onto the job market to be hired is even harder, because they're too Latino to play black roles, or they're too black to play Latino roles because of these really deep ingrained anti-black sentiments in Spanish television, and also from these hella xenophobic, standards that other Hollywood areas take. And so to purposely write a role, cast it with a black man, and to look over the fact that could have been casted by an actual Afro-Latino actor, like it's so egregious to me. And it is just like Justin said, it's because they say that they care, and it's because I have been able to see that they care in different areas of how they've interacted with me and how they've interacted with stuff. But I just don't know. Like I want to know what went into that casting. I want to know if PR presented in that way, and just the same way over 100 people were like quote tweeting me saying, "Oh my god, I didn't know that." I want to know if that was the situation, or if it was a situation where like, "Oh yeah, we can get this guy from the Mando in." Like, because those are two very different things. And then like the other thing that I definitely want to get out too is because I've been taking so much heat for talking about Giancarlo Esposito, because they're saying, "Oh, well, he's mixed and it's very hard for mixed actors to get jobs." That's true. Giancarlo Esposito is in Star Wars. He's in Star Wars. The man has a Funko Pop. He is on two of the largest television shows in history. Tell me how he is having a hard time finding work. And mind you, the shows that made him, he was playing a Latino.
Yeah.
It's a shame, because we should be in a slightly different world right now. We're celebrating the casting of, I don't know, we were talking about him earlier, Oscar Isaac, right?
Yeah.
Instead. And Giancarlo Esposito's big role would have been a villain in something else, some other big, massive game that would have been super excited. And we could be talking about how much, how good this theoretical version of Far Cry 6 is doing at being authentic in its casting and its portrayal of Latinx people. And then also being excited for a major, even if he's a major actor, like a POC actor, to be continuing to get big roles. Like, that should be a continued success. And instead, they've combined in just like an incredibly awkward and not good way. Like, we've lost two separate victories here in a real way, and it's really frustrating. I was really excited to find out who Giancarlo Esposito was going to be, that was getting so hyped up, and then this came out, and I was like, that's going.
And that's the thing too. If all the voice casts were Latinos, and I say Latinos because they're all men so far, I would have been putting away my qualms with some of the other stuff and be like, okay, you know what? I'll wait. I'll see how they handle this. And then you just have every factor compounding, and I keep getting told, we haven't played the game yet. Yeah, I haven't played the game yet, but if you already have 3 strikes and the game hasn't come out, when exactly?
They haven't even shown gameplay footage.
Yeah.
Like this is just from a teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't even from seeing the game. This is a teaser trailer and a DLC listing.
It reminds me of everybody's concern about, like, Cyberpunk, where people were seeing real early warning signs, and also knowing that CD Projekt Red is not always great about, everything from, like, we were worried about how it would handle all of its ethnic diversity and its LGBTQ content, and then there was that poster of the trans woman, and all of us sitting here going, like, there's a lot of small warning bells, but there's an awful lot of them, even if they are just, like, smaller, and that's collectively giving a lot of us this pause of, like, I don't know that I can in good faith be excited about this thing, or, like, I don't expect much, and that sucks, because the thing I would want to expect more out of. And yet, once again, if you dare to say that, hey, I'm seeing a pattern of things about this big upcoming game that bother me, then there are people who go, oh, well, but this one thing is just this. Like, it's just this small thing. And it's like you pointed out, it's that sum of how everything just builds and builds and compounds and compounds. And how can anyone blame you for going, you know what? I'm probably out of this one.
Oh, they blame me very hard and very fast.
I do want to point out, though, that a Latino man is responsible for the greatest portrayal of a video game character in film history.
You talking about Raul Julia?
I know, I'm talking about Raul Julia as M. Bison in Street Fighter.
Yeah.
That fucking ruled. Like, yes, God, I miss him. Like Raul Julia was the best part, like not just the only good part about that movie, but a fucking amazing part. Like, and when you read about his, like, he considered that to be one of his favorite roles because it made his kids so happy. And I wouldn't have seen that shit in the theater as, like, a 14-year-old. And I didn't know shit about movies. I just knew that I love video games, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, Street Fighter movie. And then fucking M. Bison, like, his suit resuscitates him from death, and Raul Julia pops up, and he's like, you came here expecting to fight a man, and you found a god. And I was like, yes! Like, oh my God, it was so good. It was so good. So thank you, Raul Julia. God, I miss him.
I do too.
He's such a great fucking actor.
It's always one of those things, because, like, I don't know, like, because, like, one, I don't want to cast a non-Afro-Latino actor, because obviously, like, that is what Giancarlo Esposito is supposed to be portraying, but, like, at the same time, what if Danny Trejo had been given that role? Like,
oh yeah,
he would have killed a dictator. Because if you've watched him in Ses Manos, he has that attitude down. Yeah. He does so much voice work currently. He does all of these things.
That'd be fun to see him as a dictator rather than just an enforcer or a,
What, like,
he's so.
Justin, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, he's such a cool dude. Like, I'm sorry, this is a side thing from an interview I heard with him, but, like, he, like, will go through like film student projects, look for roles that he would fit, and just show up on set for them. And he does a bunch of these every year, and, like, these students go wild because it's like, oh my God, Danny Trejo just showed up and is gonna be in our thing. He's such a cool dude. So that's all I had to say.
He's an amazing human.
Plus, he plays Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
Oh yeah, he does.
I also think the other thing too, like, if you're not even gonna go with that, pick literally anybody from Narcos. Any of the Narcos shows. It could be Narcos, it could be Narcos Mexico. Any of them. There is literally so much talent there. That's all it would take. Go to Netflix. Look at an age, maybe.
Do you guys
Google.
remember? Do you guys remember when they announced the Prince of Persia movie and they had Jake Gyllenhaal as the Persian prince? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, God, like I'm getting off now. Now I'm
Yeah.
getting now I'm thinking about all these ethnic game characters that have been cast as white people, or have been cast with white people in video game movies, and I'm like, oh God, like Jesus Christ, are you fucking kidding me? I'd forgotten all about that.
Brown people don't get to be brown people unless we're named like Cholo #1.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
look at Mask of Zorro. You know, like you had it had Antonio Banderas as
I was
Zorro.
I was 23 years old when I found out that Antonio Banderas was actually Mexican, and it is the biggest lie and deceit in my entire life, and it hurts still. My mom didn't know. So I called my mom when I found out and told this 50-year-old Mexican woman that her favorite Mexican actor was not Mexican. She was not happy. She didn't believe me. It took about a week of me sending her things for her to believe that he was actually a Spaniard.
So you know what? But also don't forget that you had Anthony Hopkins playing Don Diego.
That's okay because Spanish people are white.
That's true. Okay, that's true.
Spanish
That's a good
people are
point.
white. They're European.
That's a good point. But
They're
I
not
do
Latino.
I do want to point out something that somebody said in chat. This isn't very well known. So they talked about Ben Kingsley as the villain in Prince of Persia. Ben Kingsley is actually of Iranian origin. So he's a Persian origin. So he is that's actually pretty good casting. But yeah, no, his family's from Persia. Or Iran. I call it Persia, but you know, it's Iran. But yeah, no, like that's not something people know about, which I didn't know about until
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought he was Desi,
I'm pretty
but
sure he's Indian.
I think he's half. I think he's mixed.
well, I thought he was white and he was Indian, but
No. So he's Indian. He's actual Indian. Like his family has Indian lineage, and then they spent a lot of time in Zanzibar.
Okay.
Yeah. But he's not a white dude.
Yeah,
he's not white. That's what's important.
I had the flip flop here from like Gandhi, where it was like, oh, Gandhi's a really good movie, and then finding out like, oh, Ben Kingsley's English, and maybe we shouldn't do this, and then going, oh, but he's actually is Indian.
And
so.
and it's hard a lot of the time too with white passing folks because and it's something that like, how do I say this? I understand because my name is Catherine. Because my mom knew the crap that I was gonna get.
Yeah.
So, and there's this really good article out on James Roday reclaiming his name as James Rodriguez. And it talks about the complicated process that he went through of being white passing and because of that not being seen as Latino enough to play Latino roles. And taking the criticism of 2 auditions and deciding to drop Rodriguez and name him and go with Roday, which is his middle name. And how this entire process has made him realize that giving into whiteness and playing to it is a problem, and then how he's taken back his name. But that being said, there is so much that goes into how you're casted when you present a certain way that I can't blame actors for choosing to change their name. I can't blame Oscar Isaac for dropping Hernandez and Estrada because he knows that he wouldn't be casted in anything else. And so that's an unfortunate reality and a really new one because I saw a lot of people who weren't Latino talking about how, well, now he wants to be Latino and now he's coming back after, saying no. And it was a lot of the usual suspects, the white allies that talk over everybody. But that wasn't the point of the article. The point is that we live in a system that creates these boxes for us, and if we don't fit into them, we either get casted out of them, and a role goes to Giancarlo Esposito, or we have to change everything of who we are. And being able to pass for white is a privilege in and of itself, but the systemic pressures that go into forcing people to change their names, and it happens even in the gaming industry, it happens in streaming, it happens everywhere. I mean, I would rather talk to somebody over email or over the phone instead of going in person most of the time, even in what I do. And that's how it all shakes out. And it's really, really hard when you look at stuff. And it's the same thing with Ben King. It's not something that only Latinos face, but it's something that a lot of people of color in the industry face because they understand how they'll be casted. And it's real hard. It's all real hard. And Giancarlo Esposito has and I quote, he said, "I am an Italian man posing as a black man," was his quote, which was very cringy. And then he also said, quote, "I have the European and Spanish essence to play Latino."
Ooh.
If you
Didn't he also
look
call
up-
himself like an ethnic chameleon or something?
Yep. Yes, he did. So if you look up, just go into Google, YouTube, it's a YouTube interview, and you put in Giancarlo Esposito Latinx or Latino because he's a guy, it will pop up, and you'll get to hear this really, really bad interview in which he says he takes Latino roles because there aren't any of us out there, and that he stopped doing that because we're there now, outside of Gus. Let that sink in. Yeah, it's bad. I love his acting.
That's real shitty.
understand that it is really hard when there is so little rules on things. But come on, man.
That's real shitty.
It's a lot.
Woo! I did not know that. Wow.
So it's somebody who is
I had not heard
acknowledged-
all the other stuff. Holy
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah. Like I gotta tell you, this has been. I mean, like so far, this has been one of the most educational episodes I've been on. And I just conversations like this are why we value your presence and your voice, Kate. Because this is what the industry needs to hear. And it's what we need to hear. And I know that this week in particular has been frustrating for you. And I'm very, very sorry that you've had to deal with that.
You stumbled from one group of angry, dumb white boys on the internet into another group of dumb, angry white boys on the internet.
This is,
I can't even only say I can't even only say the angry white boys for the Far Cry shit. I got a whole bunch of angry it's Latino and not Latinx people.
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah. I saw white people trying to educate you on that. I'm like, you understand that you're, you know what? Forget it.
Like, not my place. Not my place.
Yeah, I'm just like,
oh. The Kate 2 years ago did a lot more than just quote tweeting with anime pictures. This Kate is nice, and people still think I'm hostile.
Well, we all know that you're nice, and we all greatly appreciate and value your voice, not just on this podcast, but in the industry in general.
Part of that comes from not taking every single piece of mild criticism of other people lacking melanin as a personal attack, which people should learn to fucking do.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Well, we just thank you so much, Kate, for your perspective. Seriously.
No, seriously, thank you for having me on to talk about and being open to have a discussion like this, because that's the reason none of this changes nobody is having discussions. And the thing is, if I do it in my own Latinx circle, they're already ignoring us.
Yeah.
So actually having people use their platforms like this to have these critical discussions is probably the best thing that people can do. If anybody in the chat right now runs a podcast, is listening and is actually wondering how they can move the needle, it's using your podcast and your audience to bring different voices and uplift them in that way. And it's really simple. It's not even as I'm going to give up my spot for this person. It's no, I'm actually going to utilize the platform that I have built to bring that person onto that platform and share them with my audience, and hopefully my audience. Because we don't have the same communities. There may be a little bit of overlap, but my community has heard me yell about it day long. So thank you for letting me come on here and yell about it.
That's how we choose to use our platform as often as we can. So we've got another 20 minutes. Derek, I know that we had some other topics to touch on if we had time.
Yeah. I think the
Watch Dogs?
Well, so here's the thing. Ubisoft talked about some other stuff, but I don't think anything that they really showed about Watch Dogs or Assassin's Creed was really new. It was just more of it. There was a really, really shitty use of a poem about the Holocaust in the Watch Dogs trailer that was stripped of a lot of context that I think is a big what the fuck Ubisoft,
That
what,
was
what are you fucking doing?
real bad.
But
So just a note about that, and I was talking about this in the chat, but I want to say it on the show for listeners and stuff. But like I have seen that poem used so much in marketing for movies, TV shows, and other stuff that for me it just hit me as just an eye-rolling hack thing, and I'm really glad people are calling out this because I remembered I'm like, oh yeah, that's fucked up. Like, not just it's an overplayed thing to do in marketing. So I'm really glad people are calling that one out because it reminded me of what I need to pay attention to that's more important about that than my reaction to it.
yeah, but there wasn't really anything else new from Ubisoft's presentation. Far Cry 6 was the big thing. But
I can tell you what wasn't there, Derek. There was no Beyond Good and Evil 2.
don't hurt me.
That
all right.
hurt.
My heart is already in pieces from the way this year has run. But we did get some news, some very like newsy kind of news that I think is worth talking about, worth taking maybe a sigh of relief over. Justin, if you want to take away the discussion about, starting with manufacturing numbers and moving from there.
Sure. So we got a little bit of news and insight into some of the manufacturing stuff going on behind the scenes for both Sony and Microsoft in the lead up to the launch of their next-gen consoles. In a report from Bloomberg, Sony has almost doubled what their planned PS5 production is going to be, from 6 million to 10 million, which that's a huge increase. And then they're also, obviously upping DualSense numbers proportionally as well. That means they, 1, want to keep everything well supplied. 2, they are committed to a worldwide launch. They've mentioned it a couple times. PS4 was a little bit staggered, came out later in Japan. And 3, shows that they're getting good yields on production. And then they also have said that there has been an increased demand for gaming, especially with quarantine and with the way things are going in the US, particularly right now. Doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon, unfortunately. So, but from the perspective of somebody that wants to get a PS5, good news. We don't know what the breakdown between the all-digital console and the disc version is, or if there may be any additional SKUs in there, but there's going to be a lot more PS5s on shelves than we previously expected, and it's quite a bit more than PS4s had. So, supply should be good, which is nice to hear. And then also, we got a little bit of news about Microsoft's manufacturing plans. In that the Xbox One, the Xbox One S all-digital edition has been discontinued, as well as the Xbox One X. Can we
get an F in the chat for the Xbox One X? Can we get an F?
Yeah, F for,
Let's get
F
an
for
F
the
in the
X.
chat. Maybe
F for the X.
Maybe some Derek emotes in the chat for the Xbox.
To be clear, Justin, that's just the digital version of the X?
Yes, the digital version. The regular Xbox One S is still going to be manufactured for the time being.
And the regular
they didn't
Xbox
give a time
One
frame.
X?
No, the X is gone.
Oh, the whole X is gone.
No, dude.
The whole
Sorry, I
X is
misunderstood.
gone.
Okay. Wow.
X is
that's
no longer
huge.
going to give it to you.
It's just
So,
Bo now.
Yeah, which I mean, I think makes sense to me, kind of from Microsoft's strategy. The Xbox One X, once the Series X comes out, the people that would buy the One X are gonna buy the Series X, so that makes sense. And then being able to sell a really cheap Xbox One S, especially with Halo Infinite, and they've talked about how they're going to have cross-gen games for a couple years. They have Game Pass to sell, and the fact that people that would be probably buying a really low-cost console would also be buying used games, borrowing games from friends, especially with like kids and stuff. The Xbox One S does definitely have some life in it. I assume the PS4 Pro is going to get axed any day now if it hasn't already. Base PS4 is probably going to keep selling. But yeah, so those are some interesting manufacturing things
Justin,
in the lead up to next gen.
Justin, I just want to point out my ears broke for a minute, and I legit for a second thought you said the Xbox has some wife in it, and I was like, is this an anime? What is happening? Like
No.
what?
No,
like, I legit,
Xbox is not my waifu.
I legit thought that's what you said for a minute, and I was real confused.
I was playing Death Stranding earlier, and I crossed a bridge created by someone named Waifu is Laifu.
Yeah, they know what's up.
By the way, do you know how hard it was to get through all of that with all the different Xbox names and make sure I didn't get them wrong?
So
I don't know. Like, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So what my first takeaway from this is, I'm gonna assume that Sony and Microsoft are probably gonna face pretty similar manufacturing. Now, I think our biggest concern was that the COVID pandemic was going to potentially like greatly restrict manufacturing and parts availability, and 10 million PlayStation 5s within, was it first year or just launch window? I'm trying to remember.
So it's launch window. I think that's before. I think it's by March.
Yeah.
Which the PS4, I'm not 100% sure on this number. I think they shipped 7 million in that same time frame.
I was going to say, I think the PlayStation 4 sold like 18 or 19 million total in its first calendar year. So 10 million.
So I think
at launch is a pretty good number.
It's a decent number more than there were PS4s available in the same time frame.
Yeah. And I'd assume that Xbox would be similar, because I mean, if PlayStation, if Sony can get a hold of all those same parts, especially, I'd imagine Sony would actually have more difficulty getting a hold of their specific super high speed NVMe solid state drives. I'd imagine
that's a totally custom thing.
Yeah, I'd imagine they'd actually have more of a part limitation, right?
What I would like to say is, while we're still in a worse pandemic than we were 3 months ago, other countries are coming out of their pandemic.
Yeah.
True
and
fact.
Would be nice.
Taiwan started the baseball season.
It would be nice. Jeff, how's Jeff feeling up there in Canada?
I'm fine, except the fact these new consoles are going to cost like $800 here. But yeah, we're not getting sick and dying, so
Kate,
call it a win.
Kate, I just realized I cut you off. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say, because I remember when you brought me on for the PS5 stream, like, I held very firmly that they were gonna sell a lot. Their problem was gonna be selling out, and that was gonna be what they were worried about. They weren't gonna be worried about production. The only reason I have a Switch is because I won one in a giveaway.
So that's the thing, and like I wanted to mention that, right? Like the Amazon just the other day restocked the neon colored Switch, and it sold out in under I think like 10 minutes. It was just gone. So it's not that the demand isn't going to be there. I think it's going to be. I saw somebody mention this in chat. I don't know who it was, but it's not. It's going to be the shipping of these consoles that is gonna potentially hurt.
Yeah. So that was mentioned in the Bloomberg report, and this is just speculation and theory on my part, but given how huge the PS5 is, and apparently that thing weighs 10 pounds. According to
what?
According
Big beefy boy.
According to
little baby Xbox for being a PC. Get out of here.
10 pounds?
It's according to one of the European listings. Yeah, that thing's big.
Oh Lord! Like,
so
Jesus.
I would,
if you would,
I would actually. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what limits Sony's ability to ship, because that's less that you can fit in a shipment.
Pounds! Like, Jesus! Are you kidding me? Like,
that's a hefty friend.
Not only is it going to cost $800 for you to buy it, but it's going to cost $60 in shipping.
Like, it's like you'll get a second job and also a gym membership to fucking carry the thing home.
Like that thing is huge.
Oh my God. 10 fucking pounds.
That weighs more than my cat.
It's a lot of juice.
It's a small child.
That's fucking
I mean,
ridiculous.
honestly, somebody said it better not sound like a jet engine, and from basically my entire understanding, I think the reason it's so big and so heavy is some ridiculous cooling. Mark Cerny called out the sound profile of the PS4 and the PS4 Pro in his presentation. From everything I know about like their approach to the chip design, the chip itself should be smaller than the Xbox Series X chip. So I think they probably have some ridiculous cooling in this thing.
It's an 8-pound heatsink, and the console's only 2 pounds.
Yeah, yes. So I'm interested. We're supposed to be getting a teardown of it soon in March, according to Mark Cerny. That hasn't happened yet. I really do hope that teardown still happens, especially now that they are in manufacture. But yeah, it is big.
Sorry, if we're not done with the hardware yet, can we touch on Microsoft services as well? Because there was a couple.
Yes, I was actually just about to transition to that. Do you want to take
Yeah,
it, Jeff?
That's a short
if you don't
piece, but
mind.
it's a
So
big
there-
one, yeah.
There's two things, and I want to talk about both, but I think one got overshadowed. So the first one is Microsoft announced that xCloud is going to be included with Game Pass, and there's a bit of confusion earlier. I was talking with Derek about this. So they did announce earlier this year, back in April, I think, that xCloud would come to Game Pass. But nobody knew, would it be with Game Pass Basic, would it be with Game Pass Ultimate, or would it be a third, more expensive tier of Game Pass that includes xCloud? So they announced today, if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you will get xCloud streaming with all those. You'll be able to stream all those games, no extra cost, just whatever you're paying for your Game Pass Ultimate right now, which is obviously great news. It's great news for xCloud, and it's great news for Game Pass. It's just more added value for people. It's more accessibility. It's a better way to play more games for a reasonable price. But I think what got buried a lot with that news is they quietly removed the 1-year Xbox Live Gold sub, which is a big fucking deal because I don't know what the US price were. I think it was about $60 US for a year of Xbox Live Gold. So now your only option is to pay $10 a month for Xbox Live Gold. I don't know what it costs, but basically we've gone from $60 a year to I think at least $100 a year.
Well, you would be paying $10 a month for gold, or you would be buying the bundle with the Game Pass and buying that yearly cost.
Right, but for people that
both
just have an
good.
Xbox and aren't interested in Game Pass, right? Like if I buy all my games day one, like maybe people aren't interested in that. The type of games they want to play aren't on there. They just have their Xbox. They just want to play online. All of a sudden now, the cost of that has gone up quite a bit. I don't know. To me, that's a pretty big change, and I think it's good for Microsoft. But it's a big shift, and I don't know if they're going to be phasing out Xbox Live Gold entirely.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I think that it's less about trying to pocket more money by making people go monthly. But I will say, and I do say this as somebody with Xbox bias, but like Xbox has been the most affordable platform for me, mainly in console price and the way their games have gone. And one of the things that doesn't get talked about in conversations about pricing is one of the reasons that the fighting community, the largest and most diverse esports community, is because of the accessibility behind fighters that you go to an arcade, you play, you can get good that way. You don't spend so much money. Like growing up, you had one person's house that you went to, and I don't know a Mexican did it any differently to play those games. And that really fits with when you look at how COVID has affected people too, because the largest population that's being hurt right now by COVID is Latinos, with the Black community right behind them. And so when you look at how this next generation is going to marginalize people even more with high pricing, one thing that Game Pass and xCloud does is it allows for cheaper gaming, the non-necessity of consoles, and in order to give adequate support to an influx of that, which I assume they're going to take into consideration, you're going to have to limit other things. So I see it more as being a move away from Xbox Live Gold and shifting towards putting all their resources into the xCloud Game Pass basket. Personally, which is why I'm not upset about it. Because usually pricing things are my issue, because I know how many people who look like me it affects. And I don't want those people, having to wait so long to come in. Like, I want everybody to play games, and everybody should be able to play games and afford them. So I usually get up in arms about any sort of price. But I think that that's where the main move is, to move it to a more it's good money wise for Xbox, but I also think moving games to a more normalized way of like playing on your phone and everything like that, and removing the steep console prices and allowing all that backwards compatibility, man, like everything they've done has shown that they're putting consumer first. So I'm really hesitant to say, yeah, they're just gonna screw people over with this Xbox Live thing.
Well,
You know,
and someone in chat.
no, Jeff, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, someone in chat pointed out something. I read this earlier. So the other rumor, I guess, going around is they're actually gonna make, when they get rid of Xbox Live Gold, is that it's just gonna be free, or there's gonna be some basic free
That would
tier
be
of online
amazing.
gaming, which would be obviously amazing. And maybe it's not fully, like, maybe there's some stuff that you only get with Game Pass Ultimate, but if maybe there would be some free tier of Xbox Live Gold where you could at least, because I don't know if you guys remember back in the early days of Xbox, like I couldn't even watch Netflix without an Xbox
Yeah.
Live Gold
Oh,
subscription,
yeah.
which is crazy because I already subscribed to Netflix.
Yep.
But so they've come a long way since then. But I think that would be amazing if they could have some sort of basic tier that's opened up to everyone for free, and then say, maybe there's just this other part that's wrapped in Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah. I think that would be great. And I also too, I do want to point out too, because I know you mentioned like people who like just have an Xbox and buy their games, but I do think that that is still a very particular type of gamer. And I think what moving your entire system to Game Pass model, which actually eliminates the need to buy games, it makes your platform much more open in moving that way. It's something I wish I had as a kid.
Mhm.
So, Justin, I know you had your. Actually, you know what, dude? Go ahead, and make your point.
I'll just be quick. I don't know. I don't think Live is going to disappear entirely soon. I think
No.
this is the beginning of a transition because, I mean, when you look at the numbers, over 100 million people subscribe to Xbox Live. That's more than subscribe to PlayStation Plus, and even with the big divide in user base. And I think that's really important, and it makes a lot of money for Microsoft. I think that we could eventually see a transition into it, but like I think people are expecting an imminent drop of Live Gold between now and the console launch, and I don't think that's going to happen. I do think they could make some. I think one move that I'm surprised Xbox hasn't done yet, but like on PlayStation Plus, you do not need a Plus subscription to play free-to-play games online. I can see them, and currently you do with Xbox Live. Yeah. I can see them easily dropping that requirement. I think that makes a ton of sense, especially with how big like Fortnite and other stuff are. And I know also Sony they don't talk about this, but they kind of incentivize Plus to those users by like having pretty regular like PlayStation Plus member only content drops for those free to play games. So I could definitely see that sort of thing in the near future, but I definitely think long term getting everybody onto Game Pass Ultimate is going to be Xbox's strategy.
And I think too, like I think one of the reasons that I think often gets left out, and this may just be anecdotal, but I think one of the reasons that like Xbox Live is so robust and like it has so many people subbing to it, one, you need it, but two, there's just so much more multiplayer and co-op play that happens on Xbox. Any of their first party games are multiplayer or co-op, and that type of thing breeds the necessity of having some sort of online connection, and you don't get that really in PlayStation first party games. It's all single player most of the time.
Yeah.
And so that it instinctively builds two different types of communities. I'm not putting one above the other, but then I do think that very much means that these two communities value different things, and I also think that that's why PlayStation doesn't make people have Plus to play multiplayer games, because they understand that their broad base of those exclusives that everybody likes to talk about are not necessarily buying this for all those experiences. Not saying that they aren't, but there's a very different demographic that comes to PlayStation and Xbox. Just in my like minimal and very small little hole of where I live.
My audio dropped out for a minute. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you
Okay,
go ahead,
okay.
John? You
Yeah,
were
I
gonna
think
talk
we all
before.
just stopped talking
Okay,
at the same time.
I got lost. I was just observing. I've been observing the gradual evolution of our names on the Discord display.
I
That
was looking
Derek's
at that too,
running.
yeah.
And Derek has progressed to just gay, and I'm still Jeff, and Justin is cat.
I haven't-
daddy.
Wait, I'm Big Himbo? How am I?
See, I can't see any of this because I can't run the Twitch stream and Discord at the same time. I just have the chat open.
I'm Big Himbo.
John, you've been Big
I don't
Himbo
have
the
a-
whole show,
I
buddy.
don't have a funny name. Where's my funny name?
give Kate a funny name, Derek.
You can call me Spicy.
Kate-
I give you permission. That can work.
Derek is on
Give-
it.
Derek is. I can see Derek working furiously right now.
The gears are going overdrive.
Derek is.
There we go.
Yeah.
Spicy Queen.
Nice.
There we go. All right, I like it. I've been Big Himbo for the entire show.
Yeah.
Almost.
John, you've been Big Himbo for longer than this,
Well,
this
yeah.
one show.
I guess that's good.
John, I will say, as a defender of himbos,
Yes.
himbos
Himbos are
a
valid.
very, very good thing. Himbos are people
I've
who
heard.
lead with their
Yes.
heart. They're loyal. That loyal may lead to a little bit of gullibility, but they're very emotionally intelligent and are there to protect you. They're not the toxic masculinity
Yes.
that they may look like.
It's four squares, right? You have bimbos, and himbo is not a male
Okay.
bimbo.
All right, I'll take it.
That would be a himbim.
Yes.
So you have himbos and herbos.
Yes, that,
Over here.
Exactly.
So
there is an alignment chart.
Yeah.
We'll go through
Yeah,
it,
it's so
study
good.
it, you'll
Right.
learn it.
I did an entire episode of my anime podcast on himbos.
Yeah.
We defended
Himbos-
them.
himbos good.
Himbos are great.
So okay,
Embrace
yeah,
the
I'm a
himbo, John.
I will. I will
Embrace it.
I will embrace my inner. I will embrace my inner himbo. That's weird to say. So we're bumping up against our time here. I want to thank Kate for coming on and talking with us. Kate, I honestly I really value. We all value your perspective on stuff like this. So thank you so much for coming on and helping to walk us through. I learned a lot talking to you, and you have an open door here. Like you can come on literally whenever you want. So yeah, thank you so much, Kate.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. Seriously, like I said, this is it's important, and I'm happy that when I said, "Yo, I want to talk," do it.
Hell yeah, Kate. Where can people find you?
You can find me at OhMyMithrandir on Twitter. If you get the joke, you get a gold star. I don't know how to
get
give them
it.
out, but
I
you can
get it.
one.
I understand that reference.
So you can find me on Twitter. That's where I am most of the time. I put myself out there a lot. So if you want to talk, just at me. I'll talk to you. Don't be a dick. I will just spam you with bad anime pictures. It's what I do at this point. But no, like follow my site at ButWhyTho PC on everything. I'm not my site. My community that we've built over the course of these last 2 years is, and we're extremely diverse. Our main mission is striving to have an inclusive community where people can share their experiences and the multitude of them that come into it. So check us out. We're really awesome. Got a lot of great writing and podcasts. So, but yeah, that's me on all my things. And I have an Instagram, but I don't really post there that much. But if you want to see my dog, that's probably where you see them the most. So.
All right, great. And just a little housekeeping. We've had some big guests on over the past couple months. We've got some more big guests coming up within the next couple months. You could say that there is some clouds on the horizon, maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying, the weather might be getting a little stormy here soon. So please stay tuned for that. Man, you know what? Let me
More
live it up,
importantly,
man.
now that we have some space on the podcast for a while, at least until we decide on a couple of permanent new additions, we are going to take advantage of our smaller crew size to have guests on like all the time, whether that's more like indie developers, more of our friends in media, community members, all of that. So it's just going to be
community
a storm
member
of guests.
first community member next week, Derek. Brittany.
Yeah.
Brittany's going to be on. You know her as at It's Peachia on Twitter. She's going to be joining us
I love
next
her.
week. Our first community guest.
And then after that, it's gonna be
Bronson.
It's gonna be fucking Bronson.
Oh my god.
Oh no! Oh no!
We can't have Justin and Bronson on the same show. It'll cause a singularity.
It's gonna be Bronson, and after that, we're gonna have Blaine on, and it's just good. It's gonna be great. So Brittany, Bronson, and Blaine over the next few weeks, and we're gonna have more guests on as well. Yeah, Bronson, I see you. Oh. All right. Anyway, if nobody has anything else, I'm gonna go make a cup of coffee and get ready for Paper Mario at midnight. And as always, it's not always poetry, and we don't always agree, but we always keep it real. So until next Thursday, take care of each other, be safe, wear a fucking mask, and we'll see you later.